We're back for the 150th episode of Hardcore Penn State Football to discuss Penn State's most formidable opponent yet, the Kent State Golden Flashes. We have some breaking news out of practice today that we will get to in just a second. We will preview Kent State and get you ready for this weekend. Let's get into the show, everybody. If you haven't yet, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to this or watching this. And prepare yourselves to drink a little bit of copium tonight.
Copium.
What are
we? Oh, because, okay.
Yeah. You got that?
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, for 150 episodes, the great Shawn Kane. How are you doing today, Shawn?
Not too bad, Cory. Happy 150. That is a lot of episodes. That is a nice looking beer that you have there.
Thank you.
Cory's got a whole beer mug for those listening on podcasts.
I was just ready for the copium today.
I think that's actually what he's drinking. So, but yeah, having a good week so far. I'll be back in Happy Valley on Saturday.
Shawn, I don't know if we discussed this. What games are you coming to this year?
Definitely Saturday, and then
you
Ohio
are coming
State.
Saturday.
Yeah, and then Ohio State.
Is our buddy Higgins coming?
No, he's not.
Are you guys just doing a day trip, or what are you guys doing?
Just a day trip. Yeah, we'll be home that night. So I love 3:30 games. From somebody who has to drive 2 hours, because you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. like you do for a noon game. And then night games are so much fun, but God, it is the worst thing in the world getting out of that parking lot for a night game. And especially if you're back in the grass lots. So we don't even have parking passes this weekend. We're just going to park downtown. Nice.
Well, you know where we will be.
Yes, sir.
Say hi. Let's start with the good news, Shawn.
I'm optimistic. Let's do it.
We have been doing this show for 150 episodes. And that's pretty cool. We don't typically, I don't want to talk about this, but podcasting is not easy, and consistently podcasting is not easy. I mean, I'm sure some of you who listened have probably listened to a lot of Penn State football podcasts, and they probably disappeared over the years. And we've gone strong here for 150 episodes. So shout out to you, Shawn, for putting up with me and listening to my hot takes. And we will continue to be here through the thick and the thin, which we do have some thin news to report in a second. But cheers, Shawn, to 150 episodes.
Yes, sir. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of, I think something like 50% of podcasts don't even get to 20 episodes. Right. And it's hard. It's hard doing like you said, it's hard doing a podcast. I think it's definitely easier doing it with a co-host. I've done a solo pod. Cory's also done a solo pod, and it's not something that's very easy. And I think the content also just isn't as good generally. Some people could carry a solo one. Kudos to them, but it's usually better to talk to somebody. So yeah, and thank you to everybody who's listened, and of course, thanks to Cory for bringing me on. It's been fun.
Devin O'Blakely on X says happy post-bye week, gents, and a good segue into the breaking news. Rest in peace, KJ Winston. He has not died, just to be very clear. He's not actually dead. But James Franklin's press conference just wrapped up and from practice, and KJ Winston is officially dealing with a long-term injury, quote unquote, from James Franklin, which could mean a lot of things. Typically with James Franklin, long-term injury means indefinite and potentially season ending. He usually does say season ending, if it is 100% black and white season ending. However, he's also said season ending for a player that then was able to come back. Zariah Fisher was a guy who they didn't think was going to be able to play at all last year, and he was able to play. Was that? So, yeah. So last year, 2 years ago. I'm losing my mind now.
I think it was last year, yeah.
But regardless, Big Ten play starts in 2 weeks. Do not expect to have potentially or arguably one of the most important players on Penn State's football team captain KJ Winston Jr.
Yeah, not news that we wanted to hear. I know Franklin said on Monday that he would give an update after practice, and that was the update. So like Cory said, I mean, long-term injuries can mean a lot of things. It's beyond the bumps and bruises. It's a little stronger than bumps and bruises for sure. A few things. Number one, I would not expect him back over these next 3 weeks, and I put that at really UCLA. Like I wouldn't expect to have him back by then. Really, I think even USC is probably unlikely at this point. The USC is a month away. Maybe Ohio State, but who knows? We don't even know what the injury is. So yeah, I would just anticipate, like we said, him just being out for a long time. And then the bigger question is, what does it mean for the defense? I think you saw Jalen Reed not in the Lion role, and I think he's fine at safety, but it's just what comes after him at that Lion role. And I really wasn't overly impressed with what we saw on Saturday with the guys that were playing there. But they were whisked into a tough situation. So, they've had 2 weeks to practice there, so hopefully they could get some of the kinks worked out. And to be fair, defense as a whole played better in the second half, and we didn't have KJ Winston the whole second half.
Yeah, it's hard to have speculation for when he's going to come back. I would be surprised. Penn State has 2 bye weeks. It's hard to imagine he'd be back until Wisconsin after that next bye week. I mean, if it's a long-term injury, that to me would be potentially the earliest. Any idea what play against Bowling Green this injury happened on? Shawn, to me, it felt like, and this is completely speculation, but to me, it almost felt like he was maybe nursing something before the game even started, or maybe early in the game, and then kind of try to play it out. Because I felt like he was maybe a step slower than he usually was, even in that first quarter, until he was eventually not. Could be completely wrong here, and if somebody knows better than me, let me know. But that was kind of the vibe I got, was that he wasn't necessarily the typical eraser that he usually is for this defense, and it was very evidently clear. I think as far as the impact goes, losing Kevin Winston Jr. is tough for a couple of reasons. One, from a leadership perspective, I mentioned he was a team captain. That's a problem. As far as like gelling the back seven together, you have 2-3 corners that haven't played a lot of football together. Your safeties are kind of who you're relying on to keep that unit close. You still have Jalen Reed. Zakee Wheatley did some good things at the end of the game, but Kevin Winston Jr. was kind of the gel for that entire back seven. So intangibly, you're going to miss him a ton, and then just straight up, he's a fantastic football player. Gonna miss him a little bit in run support, and just gonna miss him being where he's supposed to be at all times. And so, Penn State's gonna have to, we talked about there's depth there, right? You have Jalen Reed, you have Zakee Wheatley, Deshaun Lane is stepped up and playing better, and potentially will be now officially burning that green light and burning that red shirt. They're gonna have to step up, and maybe Kent State's a good time to have Kent State and get them some more extra reps. But Penn State definitely didn't look great at times in pass defense against West Virginia and obviously Bowling Green. And now they lose their best player in the secondary. Not great news.
Yeah, arguably the best player in defense. And the defense, obviously didn't play their best game last 2 weeks ago now. So it is it's never easy to lose somebody like that, even if we had a lot of depth. And I've brought up concerns about safety depth going back to the summer now. And the one thing is, there is talent here. That is the positive news. It's just a guy like Dejon Lane, is he ready to take a bigger role? Talked about the lion position. Zion Tracy, I think he had some rough moments on Saturday. Is he ready to take that bigger role? Zachy Wheatley is going to have to take a bigger role. I know he's played a lot of football here, but this is really his first time playing big minutes. And I guess he's already been, he has already been starting, but there could be a lot more on him now at that safety spot. So it's a lot about stepping up, and then you have to hope that the core, because like you pointed out, KJ Winston acted as an eraser in this defense. So that's going to put more pressure on your corners. I know AJ Harris could handle it. I've really been impressed by everything that I've seen with him so far. But everybody else, I think there's somewhat of a question mark. So it's going to make everybody's jobs a little bit harder. And also something that, because we talk all the time about complementary football, the pass rush could help the secondary. We don't have a sack yet. That's something that has to change. I expect it to change Saturday. But yes, they got to start getting home. Abdul Carter, Denai Dennis Sutton, and the rest of them. You have to start getting home to the quarterback, and that will help the secondary.
Penn State did register. I had to go back and double check. They did register 2 sacks versus West Virginia.
Oh, did they?
Smith Vilbert.
Oh,
Zane
yeah,
Durant.
what am I thinking? I'm sorry. You have to remember, I'm kind of an idiot.
No.
I was just thinking of Saturday.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know
Saturday they didn't. Which, by the way, just a little sneak peek into the Kent State preview. Kent State, for as much awfulness that they displayed against Tennessee on Saturday, they did not allow a sack to Tennessee.
Wow.
So take that for what you will.
So I assume they were right in the game, right?
No, not quite. I think they gave up 450 plus yards on the ground to Tennessee. Tennessee scored 65 points in the first half. Only scored 1 touchdown in the second half. So the splits are going to look great for Kent State late in the year.
Their second half team.
Second half team. Tennessee blew them out of the water. Kent State is just, well, we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, we'll move on from the KJ Winston news. It's obviously big news. It literally just happened 10 minutes ago. And we're going to have to see. I mean, the good news is Penn State's going to have a couple games to get right. I mean, Illinois is going to be potentially a physically tough game. They play Nebraska in 2 days on Friday, so we'll really know more about them. But I don't really expect Luke Altmaier, who has looked better this year than last year, I don't expect him to stress I think Connor Bazelak, from a strictly talent perspective, is probably better than Luke Altmaier. I mean, remember, Connor Bazelak was co-SEC Freshman of the Year for Missouri. He's got talent, probably more talent than Luke Altmaier. I think they could probably get by that, but I mean, obviously everyone's going to start thinking about that USC game and not having Kevin Winston Jr. back there against a Lincoln Riley defense who's going to stress you vertically and horizontally. That's obviously it's going to make you stay up late at night.
Lincoln Riley offense, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with adding the Pac-12 teams is generally you're going to be playing against better quarterbacks now. As long as Lincoln Riley's at USC, they're going to have a good quarterback. I'm firmly convinced of that. I know UCLA's having a down year. They look pretty awful, but you just had, I think, Jed Fish in Washington. They're gonna end up being fine. I know they're off to a bit of a tough start as well. But they could throw the ball. That's what the Pac-12 is kind of known for. Now they struggle in other areas, but there's going to be better quarterback play, and of course, Ohio State always has a good quarterback generally. So yeah,
we'll know more about USC. Like they did pretty well against LSU. They play Michigan on Saturday, so we'll really have a better understanding of like how lethal their pass offense is. How good is Miller Moss against a elite defense in Michigan? Say what you want about Michigan's offense. If USC just gashes Michigan in the first half on with their offense against Michigan's defense, then the alarm bells have to start going off, right? But if Michigan's able to maybe make USC's offense look a little bit more human, then I think you feel a little bit better. But now that we're creeping into Big Ten play, we're going to learn a lot more about Penn State's schedule.
Yeah, and then I mean I don't know if you watched the LSU South Carolina game. LSU really shouldn't have won that game.
No,
they didn't play well, and they still won. I think South Carolina lost it more than the LSU won. There's also questionable officiating calls, but they really didn't play great. So an important thing to remember is at this point in time in the season, we don't have a great idea how good teams are right now. I think we know at the top who's good. Like I could tell you right now, Ohio State is really, really good. Georgia's really good. But even them, how good are they? They almost lost to Kentucky. But you have a good idea.
Kentucky had any sort of offense, they probably would have beat Georgia.
Right. Yeah, they just couldn't do anything offensively. And then the really, really bad teams. Purdue's really bad. UCLA is really bad. But everybody else, I mean, it's all we're still putting the picture together. And I think you're going to learn a lot more about, like you said, I think you're going to learn a lot more about what USC has, especially offensively on Saturday. And also, if they give up points to Michigan, that's a concern for USC as well, because Michigan's offense has looked awful so far. Now
I would be surprised.
They just made a quarterback change, but think about it this way: Davis Warren beat what's his name, Alex Orgy out for the starting job. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, Orgy can't throw the ball at all. I would be very surprised. What did Malik Willis do for the Packers last week? I think he threw it 12 times. Like I think that's like 11.5 is a good over-under for Alex Orgy, right? Like, they're gonna not let that guy throw the ball. They're gonna run a lot of option and just see if they can play keep away and score enough points. I just since we're kind of talking about, I think Texas is the best team in the country right now. I think they're the best team right now. Everyone else seems to be figuring out some things. And then we didn't mention it, but Alabama went up to Wisconsin, and we probably should mention it. Blew out Wisconsin. Tyler Van Dyke, the Wisconsin starting quarterback, out for the season with an ACL injury, got hurt on the first drive. I'm not going to say that Wisconsin was going to win the game if he stays in there, because he wouldn't have, but that made a huge impact. The guy who came in after him, I don't know, I can't think of his name right now.
I can't think of it either, but he's not any good.
He's not very good at all, and they're going to have a problem the rest of the year. I tweeted this on my personal account. The floor for Penn State just went from 9-3 for me to 10-2. I mean, Wisconsin looked terrible. There's no excuse after a bye to go up to Madison and lose that game. Most likely, probably not going to be a night game. Inexcusable for that matter. But that's some Wisconsin news for you, some USC news, some Big Ten news in general. I got this quote here from Audrey Snyder. She's there getting quotes right now from folks. This is from Katron Allen. Asked about the confidence in the running back room. He says that it starts with Coach Sider. He made sure we're confident. He made sure we know we're the baddest motherfuckers on the field. End quote.
Nice.
Love that quote from Katron Allen.
I think he's right, too.
I think he's right, too. All right, so we got that out of the way. One other, I guess, injury news. I don't think it was official since the last time we spoke, but Angel Rapplier also out long-term injury. We'd hinted at it on the last episode that he was on crutches. Can't confirm now from Franklin that he's also a long-term injury. Luke Reynolds, we already kind of said this last time, he's going to play a lot of football moving forward. Also, Khalil Dinkins, Someone asked about him specifically tonight. Franklin said he's going to be involved a lot in the pass and run game moving forward. Franklin also said that he thinks Tyler Warren is the most complete tight end in the country. So a lot of tight end talk. Seems like Khalil Dinkins is going to be healthy, which is good news and just shows you the amount of depth you have. That you lose Dinkins, you have Rappleyea. You lose Rappleyea, you have Dinkins. I don't expect this group to really fall behind or lag behind at all, as long as Dinkins is back at 100%. I do think there is and there's no problem with this. I do think there is a gap between Dinkins and Rappleyea and Reynolds. Like if you would lose, if Dinkins isn't 100% and Reynolds had to be the number 2, I do think that is a downgrade. I think Rappleyea and Dinkins are a step above Reynolds at his point in his career, which is not very long of a career so far.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you want, right? It would be, we've seen Mike Gesicki play really before he was ready. Before Adam Bredeman had to play early before, and that was because we didn't have a ton here. So you don't really want a guy having a huge, ideally, unless he's a freak like Brock Bowers, or even to an extent Pat Fryermuth, who also was kind of forced to play early because of depth. You want enough confidence in your room to have a guy like Luke Reynolds slowly come along. Now, I mean, if you have the 2 and 3 tight end get hurt, well, you got to go. But it's good that he'll at least have Tyler Warren there. I also want to make one more note about injuries. Tamir Robinson returned to practice. So that's the one good news from injuries. Another thing that we're worried about is linebacker depth. Tamir Robinson is a Mike linebacker. He got hurt on kickoff coverage against West Virginia. Did not play against Bowling Green, and he will be, well, I don't know if he'll be available Saturday, but he did practice tonight.
I'm really glad you brought that up because Tamir Robinson was looking really good, and they missed him. I mean, they really missed him in the Bowling Green game. So getting him back is big time if he's going to be able to go. Don't obviously probably need him against Kent State, but having him back for Illinois would be huge for this team because I am concerned. We did mention this, and I think we have a fan question on this tonight. There is concerns about the depth there at linebacker. Random kicking note for you. This is from Lyle Allenstein, who is reporting for the Daily Collegian. Xander Sahadak was being interviewed and said that he needed to see a field goal go through for his confidence. And quote, "I'm going to do everything that I can to show why I should be here, why I need to be here, and why people should believe in me." End quote.
Yeah, that's the type of attitude you need to have, right?
I guess so.
And I want to thank Sander personally for getting my prediction right.
Yeah, you definitely owe him one. That's all I have as far as that goes. Any other kind of random housekeeping thoughts, Sean, before maybe we just jump right into fan questions?
Yeah, I think we could just go right to the fans.
Go right to the fans. All right. I like it. Let's do that then. So, start with this question here. This is from Dorito Bandit, longtime listener of the show. It's a wide receiver question. I'm sure you have not had enough of those. I think we're perfect so far in the season with a wide receiver question. Which backup wide receiver, Flowers, Ivy, Denmark, etc., do you think has the best chance of scoring a touchdown in the second half of the Kent State game? And he would like to see domination from start to finish. John, I'll let you go first.
I'm going Dicey Denmark. I think I think he's close to being ready just from reading tea leaves. And, obviously we're not at practice, but I think there's that explosion that the offense last season, not really this season, was missing. And yeah, I feel like he's pretty close to being ready. I I like that you brought up Anthony Ivy and Mekhi Flowers, because you do hear things about them as well. But I'm gonna go with my man Tysier Denmark.
I think Mekhi Flowers has been really quiet. I haven't heard very much from Mekhi Flowers, which he was a really good athlete coming out of high school. I really hope he's able to find his way onto the field at some point. I know he played a little bit at safety there for a little bit, but I think Denmark's the right answer here. I'm just going to say, how about not a backup? How about Julian Fleming gets on the board so we stop having Julian Fleming questions?
Oh, that would be nice. Could he just have like 4 catches this week? So then that's it for the Julian Fleming questions until.
Yep, we got it out of our system.
Maybe we get like a week off from Julian Fleming questions.
yeah. So I'm gonna go Julian Fleming gets a touchdown there in the second half. All right, next question here. This is actually, I think, one of my favorite questions on the episode today. This is from Jason. Do you see Abdul Carter? Oh, whoa. Not the question I wanted. We answered that one last week. Oh, wait. Here we go. Sorry about that. This is from Andrew. Is depth at linebacker going to be an issue this season? And I want to get the starters out of the game by halftime, as what he wants to see. Sean, is depth at linebacker going to be an issue this season?
Yes, I think it's an issue now. You look at one of the reasons we had to go to a 4-2-5, outside of that's what Tom Allen likes to run, is it was a tad out of necessity. Now we still do play some 4-3. You still see Dom DeLuca on the field quite a bit. But really, as soon as you get past Rojas, I think then you have to start thinking about putting Carter in at linebacker, which you saw a little bit on Saturday. You saw a little bit of Carter at linebacker. Mike linebacker is going to be, we mentioned Tamir Robinson, it's going to be helped by having him back. And then the Sam, I mean, that's even thinner. There's a reason why Dom DeLuca is starting, and nothing against Dom, but I think his best role probably is the first man off the bench, and he's a guy that's got to be essentially a starter. Obviously we play a 4-2-5, but when we're in a 4-3 look, DeLuca's out there. And if you're late in a game in November and you have to stop let's say a team from Ohio from scoring, do we feel great about having Dom DeLuca out there? And I don't really, if I'm being completely honest, in crunch time.
I don't think Dom DeLuca's played his best football this year. I don't know if he's trying to just do too much. I think they're also maybe putting him in positions that he's not best suited for. But I think he will get better. I think he's still knocking some of the rust off. I'm not overly concerned. I think Dom DeLuca will get there. But he hasn't played to the level he needs to play at. He's technically a former walk-on, but he's been here long enough where we need to expect more out of him. But I think it is an issue, just to be transparent. And without Kevin Winston Jr. and run support, I think it could become maybe a larger issue, or maybe that issue could show up a little bit more. I do not have my favorite question, so I'm going to just read it to you. This is from Matty Ice, so I apologize, Matty Ice, for not getting your picture up here. His question, though: should Nolan Rucci / JB Nelson start at left tackle? I feel like Drew Shelton has been the weakest link so far in the offensive line, and he would also like to see Ethan Grunkemeyer play at quarterback. I think Bo is too important to play late in the game, and see the backups RBs rack up some yardage. So, Sean, should we begin to entertain the idea of replacing Drew Shelton with either Nolan Rucci or JB Nelson?
Well, I think they're already toying with that idea, because Shelton was, and unless he was hurt, appeared to have been pulled on Saturday. So, because Nolan Rucci played a ton in the second half. So they're already considering it. As far as should they, I think they're going to give Shelton every chance they can to start. And they're going to do that because he's in his third year. And when you're playing a premium position like left tackle, experience is important. And granted, he wasn't a starter the first 2 years, but he played a lot of football. Like in 2022, I think people kind of forget Olu got hurt, and there was still all of November left in that season, and the Rose Bowl, and Drew Shelton started every game from that on in 2022. So he's played a lot. He played in the Peach Bowl last year as well. But yeah, if he doesn't pick it up and play better than he did on Saturday, yeah, there are guys that are behind him that could play. And I think Nolan Rucci, I think he played pretty good on Saturday too, if I remember correctly, but at least better than Shelton did. So I don't think it's ideal, but it's definitely something that we have to consider. Like if he doesn't play well on this coming Saturday, he's in big trouble. So it's a must perform well game for Drew Shelton.
Yeah, I think it was T. Frank said that they think Nolan Rucci's the best backup offensive tackle. Like he could play at right tackle or left tackle at this point. And we'll have to see. And I do want to give Drew Shelton maybe a smidgen of flexibility here, or a little bit of lax coming off of the injury.
Yep.
Trying to still kind of maybe put it all back together. So I'm willing to be a little bit patient on it, but yeah, he needs to play. Obviously, he needs to play better. All right. I think we have one more fan question here. Let's see if I did this one correctly. I think so. Yeah. All right. Question here is from Will Gamble. Who is a player on our team we will be talking about a lot more at the end of the year? 2 things he wants to see. I want to see us put at least 60 points, and I want to see some freshmen play. I'll go first. Player on this team that I think we'll be talking about. I don't think it's probably fair to us, but I think people will be talking a lot more about A.J. Harris by the end of the year. I don't think he's getting enough credit right now. I think by the end of the year, people are going to be like, wow, this A.J. Harris guy, kind of the way they were talking about Kalen King at the end of the 2021 season. I think that's kind of where A.J. Harris, that kind of development he's going to get as far as development and into the eyes of recognition that he deserves. I think A.J. Harris is a guy that he's gonna be probably at least second team all Big Ten would be my guess. By the time it's all said and done. So A.J. Harris is my guy.
Yeah, good answer. I'm gonna go with Luke Reynolds. And I don't think Luke Reynolds, as much as the tight end 3 could be, I think you're going to see a lot of flash plays from him, though. Kind of like young Jesse James. If you remember back when he was a freshman, he made a lot of big plays at big moments. I think there's going to be a play here and there where Luke Reynolds makes that that's going to raise some eyebrows. So I'm going to go with him.
And now that I think about it, this is probably the most depth Penn State's had at tight end since that 2012 season. Matt Lehman, Jesse James, and Kyle Carter. In a way, they all kind of did different things. In a way, I feel like with Khalil Dinkins, well, Tyler Warren can do everything. But Khalil Dinkins and Reynolds, I think you got yourselves an interesting. If Rappleyea was healthy, you got yourself a hell of a group of tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, we still feel good about the group now. Obviously, we wish we had Rap, but you look at what they have. That's still a very good 3.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Sean, before we get into the pick'em, I did want to ask you one thing as far as what you want to see on Saturday, and things you would like to see Penn State work on.
Quote Corey Geiger, I want to see us kick some ass. As the great Doc Rivers said, I'm quoting 2 people here. Don't play with your meat. Go out there and show. Look, we're a top 10 team. This is one of the worst teams in the FBS. We're going to annihilate them. They lost to St. Francis, and St. Francis is a middling FCS team. So that tells you really what you need to know about this Kent State team. So what I want to see is basically that, just dominate from the start to the finish. And I saw somebody say starters out by halftime. That's really what I want too. I don't really want to see anybody playing into the second half. That's really important on this team. And I think somebody else made a good point too about a lot of Grunkmeyer, because Bo is the plan obviously is to play Bo a lot this year. So I don't want to say he's a starter, but he's going to be a big time contributor on this team. And he's already played a lot of football. He's had a lot of reps. I would like to see Grunk play the whole second half, if possible.
That'd be cool. You had a really good point there that I am trying to remember that I wanted to add to. But it's gone away now. So it's gone forever.
Don't play with your meat.
No, trust me. I couldn't do that if I tried. I did just randomly see on my Twitter feed over here that the Big Ten basketball schedule will be released tomorrow for those that care about that. It's a football podcast, but just so you know, that's going to be released tomorrow. Things I want to see them do better on penalties.
Yep, good point.
I think Franklin mentioned that on the Monday presser, that although it's not as important as other statistics, it makes for an ugly game, and they want to clean that up. I want to see tackling improve, specifically with Tony Rojas. And then although Penn State's offense was like Chip Kelly's Oregon offense right now, as far as statistically, as far as if they get a first down, they're going to score a touchdown. Otherwise, they're going to go 3 and out. So less all or nothing drives from Penn State. You know, we talked about this a lot, even with Sean Clifford when he was the quarterback. Just getting a first down or two to flip field position is so important. Like, it maybe sounds like a defeatist attitude, but you don't have to score a touchdown every play. But getting a first down every drive makes a big difference. So I would like to see them sustain some drives, even if they don't end up in points. That obviously would mean improving a little bit on third down. I'm not yet going red flag on the third down conversion because they have been so explosive. I read that stat last week from 24/7 Sports. That was, I mean, they were putting up huge chunk plays on first down.
Yep.
And you don't have to worry about it. So, but anyway, I'm assuming they're going to have some chunk plays against Kent State, but those moments when it's a drive that just got started and you're having a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 7, can you convert those and keep that drive going? I would like to see them do that a little bit more as well.
Yeah, the third down, like you said, I'm not ready to wave the red flag per se, but it's got to get better. And I have a feeling that's something they've really worked on this week in practice, is getting better on those third downs. And part of that is, if you don't hit an explosive play on first down, picking up a run for 5 yards, making it third and manageable, and not like it felt like we were in a lot of 3rd and longs against Bowling Green. There's a lot of 3rd and 12s, a lot of 3rd and 9s, and you could have, you could have the best quarterback ever and the best group of receivers in the country. If you're in 3rd and 12 all day, there's going to be quite a few first downs you don't pick up. So make it easier on yourself on first and second down.
Absolutely. And I think the running backs go kind of crazy in this game as well. I did want to note, since you brought up St. Francis actually ran for more yards than Pitt did on Kent State.
Wow.
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I think they had over 200. So
yeah. Shout out to Landon Tangwall for that information there. Let's talk about Kent State real quick. Here are their last 5 games. They lost to Ball State last year, 34-3. They lost to Northern Illinois last year, 37-27. Then they lost to Pitt, 55-24. And they lost to St. Francis, 23-17. And then last week they lost to Tennessee, 71-0.
It's been rough.
SP plus wise, I'm pretty sure they are the worst team. They might even be. I think last week they are 176. I wouldn't be surprised if they're close to 200 now. Which there are FCS teams above them. A lot of FCS teams above them, which is not great. The spread started at 51.5. It did drop down to like 49. Just to give you guys an idea, I think Penn State's only been that high a couple times as far as that large of a spread. Idaho was right around 40, 49.
Yeah,
and then
I think it's the highest since Akron, 1999.
Okay, and then Akron was up there. There's, I think, one other recent under James Franklin when I was also in the 40s. Just so you know, as far as 40 spreads, James Franklin has covered. I think Penn State in general has always covered any 40-plus spread, which hasn't happened very often. Quarterback, Devin Gargman, 45 for 81, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's been sacked 6 times. Rushing the football, though, they are averaging 1.7 yards per carry. They do not have a rushing touchdown on the season.
Yeah.
They're starting running backs, Kai Thomas, Curtis Douglas, averaging 3 yards per pop. They also had J.D. Sherrod, who is a quarterback, but they use him in running. He has ran the ball 7 times for 56 yards. I don't know how much extra I really want to say about this. Kickers 2 for 4 on field goal attempts this year, 50%. Defensively, they're also not great. They've logged 1 interception on the year, and they've logged 1 forced fumble on the year. Their leading sack leader has 3, which I guess is better than Penn State. So that's not too bad. Cameron Olds, defensive end there.
Let's grab him in the portal.
Number 11, 6'4", 245. Maybe someone to keep an eye on.
Yep. Yeah. I know Luke Floria is a guy that Franklin mentioned at the press conference as well. He's off to a pretty good start. He had over 100 yards receiving against Pitt. This the one thing that, just looking at their schedule, I feel like this is a tough start to a season. Because Pitt just beat West Virginia. For those of you who didn't know, Neil Brown totally imploded down the stretch. They should have won, but they didn't. Then they play Tennessee, and then they play Penn State. So that's definitely a bit of a gauntlet. And then they start MAC play the next week. So yeah, this is truly one of the worst teams that Penn State has played in a long time. Like something I mentioned about Delaware when we played them last year was they're a good team. They're just not on the FBS level. But even like the way they played, you could tell they're good. They just didn't have the horses. This team just doesn't have much of anything. So I think Bowling Green was a good test for Penn State. Showed you where they're at. But this team probably won't give you, you won't be able to, even if we win 70-0, I don't think there'll be a whole lot to read into from it.
Bowling Green goes on the road at A&M this weekend. They are a 23 point underdog. That is a bet that I am putting money on. You can find those over at Cory_Lestochi. Trying to rebound, Sean. It was not a good week in the betting world last week. I did really bad. Still above 500, but we took a slide.
Who cost you?
Everybody. Missouri had opportunities to cover late there and wasn't able to get a touchdown there. I'm trying to think of ones that were like just painfully close that they just didn't
Did you take
cover at the end.
Kentucky?
No, I stayed away from
Stayed away
Kentucky.
from
Uh, the over under in a TCU UCF game, there was like a minute left. All TCU had to do is hold UCF because UCF had to score a touchdown, and I just went over the over and the game-winning touchdown by UCF in that game. So that one hurt. It's painful. There's a couple other painful ones that I can't really think of them off
You
the top
stay
of my
away from
head.
South Carolina.
Yeah, yep, stayed away from that one. Oregon State hurt me a little bit. That was actually my pick'em, which is a good segue. I had that as my double down, was the Oregon State one. And although Oregon State looked really good running the football, just they could not slow down Oregon's pass offense whatsoever. I was late to get the pick'em results out. The pick'em stuff, if you were like, I'm waiting for the pick'em, I did get the pick'em out today. Make sure to go fill out your pick'em. We did have a drop. I think we had like 45-ish people the first 2 weeks. We only had like 30 something this week. So we lost a couple people. You don't want to miss one or two, more than 1 week, because you're going to fall way behind. I posted the scoreboard on X, but we did see some of the guys at the very top have a bad week. Brandon, who was leading there, put up 10 out of 15 points this week. He had a rough week, so he kind of fell back down to everybody else. And I thought there was Grant Lachat also 11 points. He kind of fell back down to earth a little bit. Also, good news for the universe out there. I am now in front of Sean again, so we can all calm down there. We're back to where things should be. But Sean, you and I have some work to do. I'm 3 points behind, and you are 4 points behind the lead right now. We did have 2 perfect scores last week, so shout out to Mudbug. He had a perfect score. He shot up. He's tied for first now. By the way, it's a 4-way tie for first place at the moment. And then I want to say, and Hunter Kinsley also had a perfect score. So congrats to him as well. 2 things I wanted to mention real quick. One, if you fill out multiple pick'ems, I take the first one that you entered. And 2, if you don't do your pick'em for 3 weeks straight, I remove you from the leaderboard, because I'm not going to continue to have a bunch of zeros at the bottom. It kind of is annoying to do. So there's a decent amount of you who haven't done it for maybe 2 weeks out of the 3 now. You're not going to be on there very much longer, because it's a pain in my ass. So anyway, that's the update from the pick'em side of things. It is open, and we will get into our picks right now, Sean. We'll save Penn State for the end. I actually haven't done it, so I'm going to fill it out as we go.
Yep, I did
Sean,
today.
Sean, Friday night. And just by the way, you have until kickoff of the first Big Ten game. That will be Friday night, Illinois versus Nebraska. We were texting about this one a little bit, Sean. Where did you end up?
I'm taking the Cornhuskers. Just think they have a little bit more of a complete team. You look at the quarterbacks, Raiola, who it's getting a little weird, isn't it, Corey? The Raiola and Mahomes thing. It's weird, but he's good, and I got to give him that as a true freshman. And like I said, I just think they're a tad bit better. But it is a coin flip game, so I am taking the Cornhuskers, but I don't feel great about it. Frankly, I hope Illinois wins, because it'd be better for Penn State.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Illinois. I'm gonna believe in good old Brett Bielema. Bert. I just feel like, Nebraska kind of had like a big game against Colorado. I don't think Colorado's very good, and so, although they looked good in that first half, remember they had a pick 6 against Colorado to really open that up, and then they didn't really score in the second half. So I don't think Nebraska's completely put together. I think we mentioned, that they're probably still a year away, and I think Illinois and Bert over there, just they find ways to beat teams they're not really supposed to, and I think Luke Altmaier has gotten better this year, and they're a little battle proven too. They went and beat Kansas on the road, so I I don't think Kansas is very good offensively, even though they may have lost their offensive coordinator. I think Illinois wins that game. I did want to give a little shout out real quick to Kent on YouTube. He said people are going to talk a lot more about Cooper Cousins being that dude moving forward. So I wanted to give him a shout out. And Franklin Fanatic says, God bless James Franklin, which is very on cue for him. So thank you guys for providing some live chat. We're going to skip over the Penn State-Kent State game, although I'm pretty sure we can probably agree with we're going to have Penn State win that one. Former Penn State coach Charles Huff and his Marshall Thundering Herd going into the Horseshoe to face Ohio State. That's the second former Penn State assistant coach who's now going into the shoe to take on Ohio State. First was Moorhead, now it's Huff.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Buckeyes here. I do think Charles Huff won the press conference of the week though, when he mentioned I guess they have really good what did he say, bagels or something out. What was it?
Biscuits,
bagels. So I guess he's trying to use that as an NIL selling point to try to get a couple Buckeyes down to Marshall. Don't know if that'll work either, and I don't think they'll have too great of a day in Columbus and take Ohio State big.
The bagels cracked me up pretty good there. Indiana goes and just blows out the Bruins. I think that tripped up a couple people, but I think a lot of people did take Indiana.
I took the UClan.
You did?
I did. I thought going across country, they're about even. Take UCLA, no.
Yeah, that's another spread that I like this week for people. UCLA now travels to LSU, and I think they're only a 24-point dog, even though they just got blown out by Indiana at home. So I know LSU's offense isn't necessarily great, but going into Death Valley, I think UCLA literally might be the worst team in the Big Ten.
I think they might need two, either them or Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue's pretty bad. Yeah. Anyway, Indiana's taking on Charlotte. I'm gonna go with Indiana.
I'm taking the Hoosiers too.
Kurt Signetti's doing a hell of a job over there.
Yeah, they might be better than we thought they'd be.
Yeah. Villanova taking on Maryland, and no, this is not a basketball game.
Yeah, Terps win this one. The Terps did that. I should have known not to pick Maryland last week. I did take them to pick Michigan State. Yeah, and maybe the collapse is starting early. I don't know. Maybe Maryland's just not that good. But I'm going to take them. I'll take them to beat Nova.
I had to check my score on that because I feel like I would have taken Maryland, but now I don't know if I did.
Yeah, that was definitely one that got me. I didn't do that great last week. I only got 11 myself.
Yeah, you were only one off. You only did one worse than me. All right, big one. I'm going to go with Maryland over Nova too, by the way. USC versus Michigan. Where are you going, Sean? We also texted about this one a little bit too.
Yeah, I think when you're a team like Michigan and you're playing against USC, you're going to have to score some points. And I just have zero faith in Michigan's ability to score any points. I know USC, people are going to still have questions about their defense, even though they did look pretty good against LSU. Again, we still don't know how good LSU is yet. And I do think USC's defense is improved. And really, I don't think you got to be that great of a defense to stop Michigan. Michigan they barely beat Arkansas State. This is just not a good Michigan offense at all. So I'm going to take USC, and I'm going to take USC to cover. I think it's 5.5.
I'm going to take Michigan to win this game.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, elaborate.
I really think, I'm steal this from Josh Pate, but I love this term, wounded animal mode for Michigan. They've already lost to Texas. They got blown out by Texas. They can't afford another loss with their schedule. They still got Oregon. They still have Ohio State. They really can't afford another loss. They make the quarterback switch. I think that gives them a little bit of momentum. They're not going to be able to throw the ball regardless. Warren Davis was terrible throwing the football as well. He was throwing picks left and right anyway. So they make the switch to Orgy. I think Orgy can run the rock pretty well. I think they're going to give some fits to USC in running the ball because they're going to run that, read option, spread everyone out and run underneath. And I don't know yet how good I feel about the USC defense. I know they did well against Utah State, but they got ahead of Utah State so fast. Utah State didn't have a chance to run the football. And then I'm not sold on LSU's offense. And by the way, that was week 1. And what do you say people will improve after week 1 and week 2? How much of LSU was really ready for that game? We know Brian Kelly struggles with game 1 openers anyway, week 1 openers anyway. I'm not sold on USC's defense. I hope they get better because I want Danton Lynn to do well, the defensive coordinator, former Penn State defensive back. I just think going into Michigan, when Michigan really needs a win, it's USC's first Big Ten game. Are they ready for that size? Michigan still has that size that I don't know USC is completely ready for, and that physicality. And I think Michigan's just desperate. And I think I would not want to play Michigan right now in the sense that they are desperate. I think someone's going to knock them out, right? And it may be USC, but I would not want to be the one that has to deliver that knockout punch.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about wounded animal mode, but I just don't think the team's very good. I think their defense is very good. I don't want to take anything away from their defense, but on offense, when you have really nothing that terrifies me, and I even include Donovan Edwards in that,
I think their backup's actually better.
Yeah, I think Donovan Edwards might be the most. I know he kicked our butts a couple of years ago. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the country. I don't know how that guy was on the cover of the college football video game. Is it just because he needed somebody from the team that won the national title? I guess that was the logic.
They probably should have taken Will Howard if they were going to do that. The corner.
The corner, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you take the best guy. You don't take the guy that was the backup running back last season. So. Yeah, there's just not a whole lot on their offense that impresses me. And I just think when you play against a team like SC, you're going to have to score. And I know it's at the big house. I know SC has to travel. But game like that, I did think Michigan would win at the beginning of the year, but I just haven't liked anything I've seen from Michigan so far. So one of us will be right. One of us will be wrong.
That's right. That's right. We talked a little bit about UCLA taking on LSU. I assume we're all taking LSU there.
I vote with the majority.
Yeah. Okay. Rutgers at VTech. Rutgers started off as a 5.5 point dog when I was texting you guys on Sunday. I thought that was too high. I was able to jump on that early. That has come down 2.5 now. As far as winning outright, man, a lot of former assistants getting in the Penn State assistants getting involved in the pick'em. I'm gonna let you go first. I haven't even decided yet.
Oh boy. Well, I think it's a must-win for Brent Pry.
Yeah.
I think you gotta start going, man. And I think the Vanderbilt loss, looking back, people started thinking maybe Vandy was better than we thought. Then Vandy loses 10 FCS team. So now they're still Vandy. So it's a game that Brent Pry needs to win. I hope he does win, but I'm taking Rutgers. I think Rutgers is a good team. I don't know how good. I think by good, I mean probably 8-9 wins, maybe 9. I think 9 might be stretching it, but they're good. And I think although VTech backs are against the wall, and I don't think Rutgers is 1,000 times better than them, and they could absolutely win. Just going with the better team, and I'm going with the team that I trust more, and that's Greg Schiano's boys. But like I said, I hope Virginia Tech wins.
Yeah, I'm going to take Rutgers too. Kyle Monangai is off to a really good start this year. Rutgers quarterback, Kyle Manankis, whatever how you say the name, the former Minnesota quarterback that was thrown into the lineup against Penn State's whiteout and just looked real rough. Having a pretty decent year for Rutgers out there. But I'm going to go with Rutgers, but I agree. I kind of want Brent Pry and his team to win. Again, I took Rutgers to cover the 5.5. I can't believe Rutgers was honestly the underdog in this, and I couldn't believe it wasn't a -1 or something close to that. Basically a money line game. This game, I think 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, oh, Washington's going to win it. Northwestern at Washington. Washington just lost to Wazoo in the Apple Cup. Where's your head on this one, Sean?
Yeah, this is one that I struggled with the most. I'm gonna take Northwestern. Don't really have any great reason for it. Maybe I'm coming off that Apple Cup and just Washington looking pretty hapless against their former Pac-12 brethren. But I like what Northwestern is doing out there as far as their program goes. I think there might be, and I think right now they're probably just a little farther ahead. And maybe Washington is farther behind than we thought going into this year. So I'll go Northwestern, but this is the one I felt the least good about.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm not feeling good, but I'm going to take Northwestern as well. Cam Porter, their running back for Northwestern, has been there forever. He's finally healthy. He's looking really good. On the outside, A.J. Henning, former Michigan wide receiver. I think he's pretty solid as well. And I agree. I like, is it Dave Braun over there?
Yeah, Dave Braun.
I think he's a hell of a coach. So I'm going to go Northwestern to win this football game. Which Washington and UCLA are not showing up great as far as their first season in the Big Ten is what it's shaping up to be. The battle for the Floyd-Rosedale, I've talked about this rivalry before, Iowa, Minnesota, the battle of the pig. The pig. Great story. I've spoken about this rivalry before. I'm not going to go into it in depth, but look up the story behind the Floyd-Rosedale. It is a hell of a story about this pig and the bet that an Iowa governor and a Minnesota athletic director, I forget exactly who was who, but it's a great story. This is going to be another good chapter in the Iowa-Minnesota rivalry. Both of these teams coming in here playing very much their kind of brand of football to this point. Iowa has a little bit more of an offense. Didn't look great against Troy last week. I think they gave up a punt return for a touchdown to Troy as well. But they were able to cover a game this year with their offense and made me look smart for once in my life. Minnesota has looked really good against Nevada for as much as they deserve credit for that. I think they covered there last week. So, Sean, who are you going with?
Oh, Hawkeyes. I know they had really rough game a couple weeks ago where they just completely imploded against Iowa State. But again, better team. Like you said, the rivalry game, I think you always have to keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm going with the Hawkeyes here. I'm going to say Cory picks the Gophers.
That's right. I'm taking Minnesota. Shocked. You betcha. Not just because I don't like Iowa or Kirk Ferentz, but I think Minnesota does pretty well against Iowa. And I think Minnesota, if we were back in the Big Ten West, would probably win the Big Ten West this year. It would have been a complete mess again. Don't get me wrong. But I think they're looking like the best team right now, arguably. Maybe them and Iowa. This literally could have been the division championship right here.
Very well could have been. Yeah, I think it would be another at the Big Ten West.
Rest in peace, right?
Man.
God bless it.
Covering that. Covering that down the stretch.
I'm going to go with Minnesota. And I was just in Minnesota, so I feel like I'm obligated to take Minnesota.
Like Tim Walls's.
That's right. Michigan State, Sparty taking on Boston College. This is the red bandana game? Is that what Higgs called this?
I think so.
They're wearing their red uniforms. Is that why?
I don't know why he called it that, to be honest with you. It could have been some Bill O'Brien thing.
Okay. Well, Bill O'Brien, Boston College, again, they were able to cover against Missouri. Just made too many mistakes down the stretch to beat Missouri. Got a good quarterback over there, too. Is his name Castellanos? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
He's pretty solid. Sparty.
Castellanos, yeah.
Sparty had a good. I think. Yeah, Sparty had a good win against Maryland. Nick Marsh, former Penn State target, had a good day. That was, by the way, 2 weeks ago. MSU didn't. I think MSU played like Prairie A&M last week or something like that.
I feel like I just watched it Saturday.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks
This
ago.
must be a Mandela effect.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Boston College to win this game though.
I'm going BC as well. I like what BOB's doing up there. I think Michigan State, they're another team. Reminds me a little bit of Nebraska, honestly. I think they're probably a year away. I think Jonathan Smith is a good coach. I thought he was one of the most underrated coaches in the country when he was at Oregon State. He really built that program back up, and then goes to Michigan State. And I thought at the time it was a good hire, and it's looking like it. I just look at them though. I see them as a 7 or 8 win team max, just from what they have right now. But they're building up and they're going to be good. And I look at the quarterbacks. I like Castellanos better. So, and I think Michigan State's quarterback got banged up last week as well.
Good feedback. Good feedback. Purdue. Look, you're right. They're probably the worst team in the Big Ten. Taking on Oregon State. I'm going to Oregon State here. I know the score was bad, but Oregon kept in their starters really late into the game and continued to throw the football more than they needed to. I don't know if that's just a Dan Lanning thing. Oregon State was able to run the rock, and they're not going to be going up against Dylan Gabriel this week. I got Oregon State winning this football game.
Yeah, I'm also taking Oregon State. I just think Purdue is so bad, and it has a lot to do with how I watched them against Notre Dame, and man, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't stop them. They couldn't move the ball, and bad. You want to see something. I know they're a little outmatched. Notre Dame's one of the best 10, 15 teams in the country, and Purdue's might not be a top 100 team. Right. So you have to keep that in mind, but you want to see something, and I just didn't see anything. Oregon State, like you said, rough day against Oregon, for sure. But I still think they're better than Purdue.
Yeah. Your double down game, are you going with USC to cover? Is that what you chose?
That's my double down game.
I'm going to double down on Northwestern covering the 10.5 spread since I'm taking them to win. I mean, I think 10.5 is a lot, even if you didn't think they were going to win. 10.5 is a perfect number. Like, I don't think Washington's 2 touchdowns better than Northwestern.
I don't either. Yeah, I think that's a good bet.
So, all right, that's that. Dorito Bandit tweeted at us here 5 minutes ago. Shows King Mac statistics, who's now transferred to Alabama. 1 tackle so far on the season for King Mac. Dorito Bandit says the grass ain't always greener on the other side. Would have played a huge role this season rather than sitting on the bench. Which, who knows why the guy transferred, but clearly he would have had a large role if he would have stayed.
Yeah, we said at the time, I don't think it's necessarily due to playing time that he transferred.
Yeah. Because he played a decent amount as a freshman.
Yeah, and he was going to play this year.
Kent said, I'm not scared of Ohio State. Sorry, but the schedule is who they beat so far. Doesn't scream anything, but that's what's expected. Yeah, we'll learn more about Ohio State later in the year. It is who they are for right now. Last 2 things, I think. Number 1, Illinois game will be kicked off at either 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. That was released finally.
I have a wedding, of course.
And Sean has a wedding for that, which is groovy. I thought there was one other thing I wanted to mention housekeeping-wise as far as just like, oh, by the way, Penn State news. But now it is slipped away.
Oh, I did see, it's probably not this, Antoine Belgrave shorter. They're going to start giving a look at safety. So.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Lambda says, thinking King Mac probably has better NIL stats than he'd have here.
I think the same.
Yeah. I think that's the show.
Oh, we have to have our score.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah, we have a game Saturday.
It's just, this is bad. I mean, I hope Penn State's more focused on this game than I am. Because I am not focused on this game at all. Clearly. I almost ended the show without even doing a prediction. Which, by the way, I don't think I clicked. Maybe I did click Penn State on my pick'em when I was filling it out right now. clearly, I did write a score down, just so you know, and I have a bold prediction here. But clearly, my mind is elsewhere. All right. I'm gonna go first because I feel like I deserve that for doing that. Well, it's no surprise I'm having Penn State win this football game. I have them winning 66-3. And I don't really see Penn State getting in the end zone. Their first 2 snaps against Tennessee were bad snaps. They went the wrong way. They gave up a safety eventually. Kent State is a bad team. Like, they are on the Idaho threshold of bad teams, and I don't even feel bad jinxing it. They are a really bad football team, and Penn State's going to take care of business, especially coming off of the bye, a little antsy to correct the things that they needed to correct. I got Penn State winning 66-3. For my bold prediction, I have Khalil Dinkins scoring 2 touchdowns and getting him back into the groove of things. So those are my predictions, Sean.
Yeah, I have Penn State scoring the same number of points that Cory had, 66, and I have Kent State scoring 6. So I'm going
the Beast.
Yes. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Good call.
Oof.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bad one. I should just give him the 7.
I was thinking 66-6 too.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna go that route, but clearly you don't mind doing that. So
yeah, I know.
I already wrote down 66-6. Sorry.
And then if they actually get it, I'm really worried. It's actually that score. So yeah, I'm gonna go 66-6. And bold prediction, I'll go Gronk throws a touchdown pass.
All right, easy enough. Sean, can you really quickly just say your score prediction again? I don't think I got that recorded.
Took Penn State 66-6.
Thanks. Didn't have to sound so boring about it. Ken on YouTube,
I didn't know
his
how
bold.
you wanted me to.
Ken on YouTube, he's going with 63-0, and he is going bold prediction 4.5 over 4.5 sacks, which is very bold.
I could see it. Like you brought up, though, kind of odd that they didn't give up a sack against Tennessee. But I do think they get. I think they get off the. I mean, it was only one week without sacks, I guess. But I think they get off the not having sacks against MAC team Schneid.
Yeah, and well, Franklin was asked about that, I think on Monday or whatever, and it's like he had a really good point that I missed. A good way to kind of close the show. He was like, yeah, like teams are getting the ball out fast, but they've been doing that against us forever. Like Penn State has gotten after the quarterback, even when go all the way back to when Coach Spencer was the defense line coach. Like they were racking in a ton of sacks for the last 5-6 years now. So it's nothing new. And so I don't just discount the whole not a bunch of sacks yet to the opposing teams are getting the ball out fast. That's not a good enough excuse. So there definitely needs to still be some improvement there.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's MO, like this, maybe forever, has been get after the quarterback and, make it easier on your secondary and let the secondary make plays back there. Force bad throws and then just get sacks. And it's something that we certainly didn't see against Bowling Green on Saturday. But like I said, I do think we get off that Schneid a little bit, and the edge guys wake up a bit more.
I hope so. Sean, I will see you on Saturday, my friend.
Yes, we will be there. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, everybody, too. So
excellent. Well, that wraps up our 150th episode of Hardcore Penn State Football. Please make sure you've liked the video if you're watching live on YouTube. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. For Sean Kane, I'm Cory Lestochi. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. Thank you guys so much for listening.